listen to what it's like to deal with an energy vampire. As we spent more time together, she started taking new, disrespectful liberties like getting demanding with me or commenting on things I was doing. She put me down and criticized me. I began to feel like I was being treated like a beck and call girl to her. When she needed me for advice, none of which she ever took, so frustrating, she'd expect me to stop whatever I was doing and listen to her stories. She wanted to dominate and control me, and she did so with her passive aggressive nature. Backhanded compliments were really put downs. She'd make me listen to the same dramatic problems, which she never did anything about solving, and even picked on my own life choices, despite the fact that I had never asked her opinions. In short, she was overtaking and expecting me to overgive. Learn how to deal with these toxic people.
Do you ever get around a person or you talk to a person and all of a sudden you just feel so drained? Like when you leave them, it's almost like they just suck the literal life out of you and your energy is so low that you can't even understand like what happened. That, my friend, is what you call an energy vampire. And no, I'm not referring to a literal vampire that's gonna bite you and suck your blood, but I mean a spiritual vampire, aka an energetic parasite. So an energy vampire is someone who drains your emotional, your mental, and your spiritual energy. Oftentimes, using your weak points, they trigger you in ways that knowingly and unknowingly deplete your energy. And it's not always the obviously loud and aggressive person with high energy levels that does the draining. A lot of times it can show up in ways through neediness, codependency, passive aggressiveness, and victimhood. But being around these types of people oftentimes leaves you feeling overwhelmed, agitated, irritated, anxious, depleted, and usually just heavy in the spirit. And in worst cases, they can even leave you feeling physically ill, whether you have like headaches or body aches, or even over prolonged periods can trigger the manifestation of diseases, because y'all know stress kills, right? Stress can take a really heavy toll on the body.
A clear indicator that you're dealing with an energy eater, an energy vampire, a devil, a demon, a serpent is notice how you feel when you leave their presence. Because one common thing I've noticed about dealing with these spirits and people, rather that's in a man, in a family member, in a coworker, in a homegirl, is every time you leave their presence, you tend to hyperfixate and overanalyze. Overanalyzing yourself, overanalyzing them, hyperfixating on what you said, what they said. You're just in your head about the interaction. And that's because when you are dealing with energy eaters, energy vampires, they are taking you out of your power. When you are in your power, when you are around people who empower you, you don't hyperfixate on your interaction because you don't have to. They make you feel validated in your ideas. You feel secure in your belief systems. You might leave these people feeling inspired. They give you a new idea. You feel empowered. You feel motivated. When you are around energy vampires, they are taking you out of your power. That is why you leave them second guessing yourself.
So while you're suffering, they basically feel rejuvenated after siphoning your energy without any cares at all. And the thing is, they need your energy in order to replenish theirs. Because oftentimes, because they are so plagued with negative energy, they struggle to generate their own positive energy. And listen, it is not worth sacrificing yourself for any type of stress or just energy depletion. And some of the most common types of energetic vampires that I feel like encounter just on a day-to-day is the energy drainer, the emotional black hole, the victim, and the narcissist. And before we dive deeper into really understanding each of them, I'm just going to present like a great example that I feel like will kind of give like a clear basic understanding, and that's observing the dynamic of introverts versus extroverts. So an extrovert is a person who primarily derives their energy and enjoyment from interacting with others and just the external world, often feeling an uncomfortable level of boredom or even just a depletion in their own energies when they're by themselves. Unlike an introvert who thrives best and replenishes their energy in their alone time. And hi, I am an introvert and I absolutely love my alone time because that is truly how I recharge my energy. Like I be needing time to myself. Like let me go read a book, let me just chill, let me listen to music, let me watch my favorite show, or just even sit in silence. One thing about it, because I've grown so comfortable just in my alone time and I've learned how to really cultivate the best environment for myself, when I don't get a chance chance to really bask in my alone time, when I tell you I be feeling real miserable. And as young as I can remember, I've always hated large groups and just big parties and events because the energy was always just so heavy. And when I was younger, I never really understood just what was going on, but I could literally pick up on all the energy around me, and it was just so draining to my energy. Like, I was just like, oh my gosh, like, get me out of here because it's too much going on. Meanwhile, I'm looking at everybody else and I'm like, y'all seem like y'all having a good time, but it was just so draining for me. I just could not wait to get back home. Like, if Read the Room was a person, I am her, okay? And the crazy thing is, before I learned this about myself, but also learn how to like be grounded and balanced within myself, I used to really think that having a high level of discernment was a burden because I didn't understand it and I didn't know how to protect myself with having a gift of discernment. But the more that I started to really like tap in and learn more about myself and just really get understanding of what was going on, it is truly a blessing. You hear me? It's a blessing. And anybody who's out there, listen to your intuition and really strengthen it, because I promise you, like, the way it is to navigate the world using discernment is like top tier, unlocking a different level of life. So I just want to thank God because I had to learn how to observe energy without absorbing it, and I had that bad when I did not understand any of this. But I would definitely say that that's a video that I do want to talk about because I feel like that's like a really important thing that really helped me be grounded. Because when I tell you I would take everything in, like, I could be fine, but I could be around a person that is not really feeling like their best, and I would take on their energy not knowing that it's not my energy and how to like protect myself from it. So I'm definitely going to do a video on that just because I feel like it's really super important to know how to protect your energy. And as an introvert who's always been a likable person, but also as I was working in the beauty industry, I feel like my whole entire life, people would always open up to me and tell me about their life, and they could have just met me and they're being so open with me. And you know, like, part of me, like, I appreciate that because there's a level of openness that you feel from me. But y'all, it was so draining because it's just like, again, I did not know how to shield myself from that. And because I always knew how to generate my own energy, I feel like people always saw me as a source of energy, but I didn't see my own energy. So I was just freely giving it out and not really guarding myself the way that I should have. And that's why I promote so much to be self-aware, because it helps you know yourself and how to guard yourself when you're out in the world. But all I know is I just had to be a therapist in another lifetime because it only makes sense. But it really started to help when I started to gain more spiritual understanding on how to protect myself. So to sum up the whole like introvert extrovert dynamic, introverts tend to be a source of energy for extroverts, while extroverts can potentially be exhausting for introverts over a period of time. Because again, extroverts feed off of outside energy in order to replenish their energy. So that's just like the general understanding of the whole introvert extrovert dynamic in relation to their ability to generate their own energy and their dependency on exchange of outside energy. Now, when it comes to energy vampires, some people can genuinely be unintentionally draining, and due to their lack of self-awareness of how they're toxically showing up and how it's affecting the people around them. And this is the key part, and you can discern that they are genuinely not trying to be burdensome. It may just require for you to respectfully bring to their attention their toxic behaviors. And by you holding that mirror up to them, a person who can take constructive criticism without being defensive and who can take accountability will take that as an opportunity to self-reflect and grow, which then ultimately allows you guys the opportunity to continue the relationship dynamic if you would like to. But a person who gets defensive and they don't know how to take the constructive criticism and they want to, like, you know, argue you down or whatever, that's a person that you're gonna have to hit them with the snip, okay? You're gonna have to cut them off because it's just like you don't want to change. You want to stay toxic. Their ego is just so big that they feel like they don't have to like correct themselves in order to show up in a healthy way. So then now that's where we're going to start to talk about people who covertly and overtly do things to drain your energy. Because if somebody brings it to your attention and you don't want to change, at that point you are aware, you just don't care. And y'all know that saying, misery loves company? These are the people who give parasite and leech. And commonly they display the characteristics of having a big ego, and that could look like whether they want to argue all the time or debate you on things, or even pick unnecessary fights just because they just want to, you know, create chaos. Or it could look like a person who has aggressive tendencies, so like if they have like anger issues. Or it could be a person who is narcissistic or has narcissistic traits, so it doesn't mean that they are narcissistic, but they can still have the traits of narcissism. Or it could look like a person who is always whining, complaining, and literally nothing satisfies them. It's almost like you want to be miserable, because anytime a person does present a solution to you, you don't want to take it. You just want to keep complaining. Like, that's a person. Yeah, I get it. And truly, when you think about it, these are people who are just disturbed within their spirits. And it's sad because it's just like, you're not at peace with yourself that you don't want other people to be at peace with themselves. Like, you're so disturbed in your spirit that you want to go and provoke and get a rise out of people because you feel like it'll make you feel better to see them feeling that way. So ultimately, their goal is to get a reaction out of you. And ultimately, that's where like that energy transfer happens, because they went from miserable to you being fine to now they get a reaction out of you and you're annoyed, but then they're happy because you're annoyed. So you see like that flip. And like I said in a previous video, not everyone is spiritually aware. So sometimes people are intentionally trying to be an energy vampire, but they don't understand the spiritual side of things. So because they see you experiencing a level of peace that they don't have, they're gonna want to create chaos. Some people really don't like to see other people happy, so they want to knock them down to their level of misery. So now I'm going to share some clips of people sharing some common examples of what an energy vampire could look like, and also some people giving advice on how to handle it. So now let's roll the clips.
If you've been doing the work to protect your peace, then recognizing energy vampires is essential. Let's break down the most common types so you can spot them before they drain you. Also, I just posted a full video about this in my YouTube, so if you want to check that out, check the link in my bio. It's Geneva's Soul Cipher. First up, the narcissist. They demand constant attention and validation, often manipulating people to feed their ego. You'll notice them dominating conversations, making everything about them, and they will leave you feeling unseen and used. Next, we have the victim. This person thrives on pity. They're always in a crisis, they're blaming the world for their problems, and they guilt you into overextending your energy to save them. If you're left feeling guilty when you try to pull back, you've probably encountered this type. Next, we have the drama magnet. This is the person that stirs up chaos everywhere they go. They're constantly involved in arguments, gossip, drama, conflict, and they pull you into a whirlwind of negativity. You'll notice that they'll never seem to want a solution, only to pull you into their problems. Then there's the critic. This is the person that's super judgy, they're very negative, they can never celebrate other people's accomplishments, and they often leave you doubting yourself. They thrive on keeping you in a low vibrational state because it feeds their insecurities. And finally, we have the clinger. This person is overly dependent on your emotional energy. They typically have a very anxious attachment style. They need constant reassurance and support, and they lean on you without ever considering how much they're taking. Recognizing these patterns is the first step in protecting your peace. And these people aren't necessarily bad, they're just operating from unhealed wounds. But you know, it's not your job to fix them, okay? Set boundaries, protect your energy, and prioritize your growth. A lot of times we're not even conscious of the fact that these types of people can hold us back. So just be mindful, okay, and keep yourself protected from energy vampires.
Energy vampires are people who sometimes intentionally drain your emotional energy. But you know what's always good is to learn the signs and what to do about it if you encounter energy vampires. But first, hi, my name is Dr. Vanessa Milagros, and I'm a licensed mental health professional here in the state of Florida. Let's get into it. They don't take accountability. They're usually involved in some kind of drama. They tend to one-up you, or they diminish your problems and play up one of their own. They place their problems right onto you. They tend to latch to sensitive and compassionate individuals. They use guilt trips or ultimatums. Is anybody catching on to the drift here? Codependent. They criticize or bully you. Can even use intimidation. Whew. All right, well, let's talk about what you can do. One is to establish boundaries. When you accept invitations to different things or to help them in certain ways, instead of saying, I cannot do this, and sticking to it no matter how the guilt comes up. Still have the option of allowing them to suck all of the energy and life out of you once again. But we're trying to do better, right? Okay. Second is to adjust your expectations. You cannot fix them. Have you not been trying to do that all this time? Has it worked? Adjust your expectations. Do not give them an inch. You already know when you give them an inch, they will take the mile. Don't even give them the inch. Guard your emotional capacity. But of course, the first step is to always recognize that you are surrounding yourself with emotional vampires. What do you need to adjust? Where do you need to change so that you do not continue to be in that cycle of, I'm allowing you back in my life again and again and again. It's not fair to me anymore, right? It's not fair to you anymore, right? When's enough going to be enough?
The way that energy vampires work is that they want to create a strong emotional reaction within you. This typically means triggering a core wound. When you respond to the trigger, it creates an energetic food source. This is why their goal is to amplify deep feelings of shame, fear, or inadequacy. So this is how you're going to spot an energy vampire. Recognize how you feel during and after interacting with someone. If you find yourself feeling insecure, unattractive, self-conscious, self-critical, chances are you're dealing with someone that lower vibrational entities are working through and cording into your energetic system. Once these energy cords are established, they can continue to steal or exchange energy with you that essentially is the food source, this energetic food source that we're talking about. Now, here's the hack for no longer creating or attracting these types of energetic bonds with people. And it's very simple. Intentionally use your emotional triggers as teachers by choosing and deciding to learn from them. You do this by consciously becoming aware of unhealed wounds, working on them, thus shifting into a higher vibrational state of being that will no longer attract these types of energetic reflections. You will repel energy vampires from your field.
Now I'm about to drop y'all with a gem. It's about to be a little piece of discernment. Everybody not gifted with discernment, but this is something that you can take with you to keep an eye out on. When you run into people who have a bunch of connections, a bunch of friends that hold no substance, a bunch of dates, like not like going out on dates, but like a bunch of people that they're dating that hold no substance. When you get into a connection with someone, the type of connection that you're looking for reciprocity, right? When you meet people who have a bunch of their fucking eggs all over, they're not going to give you reciprocity. And that's exactly what we call energy vampires. If someone is pouring into multiple people, do you think they'll have anything to pour into themselves? No. That's because they're not pouring into other people. They're sucking and draining other people. That's a key way to look to see if somebody is on some energy vampire type time. They mean you well. If they are narcissists, you will know. We need to start being able to point out the people who are chosen and the people who are aligned with our lives. When somebody got a bunch of people like that's having the expectation out of them, friends and dates and shit, you got a lot going on. With you not pouring from them. You getting something out of them. You feeding your fucking ego. You feeling like the man. You feeling like the girl. You having fun. You draining people, draining them of their emotions, their feelings, not being available enough. You see what I'm saying? You're draining people. It's impossible to have as many connections as people say that they have. Listen. We all get the same 24 hours, the same 52 weeks, the same 365 days. Y'all, I be drained. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I need time for me first. I got to make sure my cup is full enough for me to be able to pour into somebody else. And I expect the same for whomever I'm in friendship with, relationship with, dating, whatever. I expect you to make sure your cup full before we come to meet and, swap. It don't, wow. And then my thing be, they hold no substance. So they not giving those connections energy. They're taking energy. Feeding their ego. Being a narcissist. Draining them. being an energy vampire. I'm almost 1,000% sure. I don't even gotta know how the relationship is set up, but I know for certain and for sure how relationships with no substance go and how you feel, whether you're a friend, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. I know how this shit go. It's impossible. I love you.
You are probably dealing with an energy vampire in your life and you don't even know it. Energy vampires are people, when you interact with them, they consciously or unconsciously always leave you feeling more negative, more drained. Maybe when you're in conversation with them, you feel like you're in fight or flight. You walk away and you're like, wow, like I feel less positive than when I walked into a conversation with this person. Or you notice when this person comes into a social conversation or walks in the room, or even getting a text from them just gives you a little bit of anxiety because you know it's going to bring your vibe down. Energy vampires are really just people, as I like to explain, that they emotionally, whether they do it on purpose or they are not self-aware, they drain energy from other people. They emotionally are very demanding kinds of people. If you've ever had friendships or relationships with people who are very self-centered. For example, every time you go to share something about yourself, they always talk about themselves. Like I recently got out of a friendship where every time we would have a conversation, it would feel like if I said something good happening to me, that person would have to overshadow it, or they wouldn't be excited. They might not ignore what I stated, but they're not going to support me in ways that my other friends who might be more like my hype women are, right? So you just start to notice that this person always brings a bad energy with them, but they're always seeking to pull on your energy is the way I like to describe it. It's so important, and even I had to realize this recently with like a previous friendship of mine. You cannot keep energy vampires around and protect your energy and ascend in pushing yourself to grow and attract high vibrational people into your life. And we have to remember that essentially, people that are energy vampires are deeply insecure. They have unhealed trauma and wounds that they have not dealt with. That's why they get triggered, for example, if the conversation is not focused on them. They constantly are maybe blowing up your phone and demanding your attention. Like sometimes I would get like 20-minute long voice notes like throughout the day. It's like you almost feel like that person is just demanding so much energy from you that you can't give and sustain over the long term. So if you have someone like this in your life, a friend or even a family member or relationship, you know, with a partner you're dating, you ultimately have to get that person out of your life. I know people get uncomfortable and they're like, well, what if I need to keep this person in my life? Or maybe they're a coworker you can't avoid. Okay, well then outside of things you have to do, and when I say have to, as in maybe you get paid to work with that person, or you have to go to a family event and that family member will be there, you only interact when you have to, but you don't go out of your way otherwise to interact with this person. So, for example, for me, with the past relationship or friendship, you know, you don't overexert yourself or responding when you don't have the energy. You know, you're not going to give lengthy responses to encourage conversation. And even just putting space, right? You know, maybe drifting away, just responding less and less. Or if you're in a relationship, you should definitely just cut that off. Ultimately, you need to find a way to end that relationship. You have much more precious things to do with your life than be drained by someone who's lacking the self-awareness to heal themselves and work on themselves to be a better version of them. And ultimately, we all have things that we're working on healing, but the biggest difference between energy vampires and people that are not energy vampires is self-awareness and working actively on bettering themselves. And they at least, you know, take into account, hey, how am I affecting the people around me? Are my actions beneficial to myself and the people I have relationships with? Whereas energy vampires are only thinking about how it makes them feel. They don't necessarily have a regard for how it makes other people feel. But remember, it's not about judging them or putting them down, but ultimately you need to distance yourself from people like that. And those energy vampires need to realize, hey, I have wounds I have not healed, and I am placing unrealistic expectations on people to support me or be
emotionally available to me in a one-sided manner.
Some men are not just toxic, they're energy vampires. Have you ever been in a relationship where you felt like that man was draining your soul? Like when you were around him or when you get off the phone with him, you would literally feel weaker. You would feel like your soul got dimmer. Now that's not just in your head. That's energy vampirism. Your aura can be drained, and some people will feed off your energy. The harsh reality is realizing that sometimes these men do not love you. They just love having access to your body and to your aura. They love having access to your labor and your life force. They love having access to your womb. They love having access to your light. And if you're not careful, they will drain the life out of you, figuratively and sometimes literally. You see, they will take from you, but they will give nothing back. And that's not really love, is it? That's just extraction. They've just extracted your life force. They've extracted your aura. They continue to siphon your energy, and you might not even realize it until it's too late. Pay attention to the signs. If you're constantly forgiving him, tiptoeing around his feelings, walking on eggshells, or sacrificing your peace just to keep him around, then baby, that man is feeding off you. He's not building with you. Psychology even backs this up because most energy vampires will use emotional dysregulation to keep you unstable. They will create chaos. They will have you in a constant state of fight or flight. Your nervous system will be shot to hell. You will constantly feel like if you're fighting for your life in that relationship. And after a while, your nervous system will be affected. You may even start to develop autoimmune diseases because your stress levels constantly have been activated. Your cortisol levels will always be high. In order to protect yourself, you're going to have to sever that soul tie. You're going to have to cut the energetic connection that you have with that person because it's become an energetic cord. It's like a cord tethering you to that other person. You will have to sever it. You will have to make peace with the fact that you have to let that person go because they're just draining your life force. You will have to block them or set strict boundaries. You will have to be the one to put the boundaries in place because I promise you, they're not going to be the one to do it because they're benefiting from having access to you. So you're going to be the one to set the boundaries, sever the connection, and protect your energy.
You've ever been with someone and you felt like you were drained, tired, didn't have any pleasures for life, didn't have any goals, ambitions. You used to be this bright, shiny, happy, healthy, go-lucky person. Now you are drained. Now you always feel tired. Now you have no desires. You have no ability to do all of the things you used to do before that used to bring you joy. There's a good chance that you are dealing with a narcissist. The narcissist is what they call a energy vampire. They suck your energy. You know how vampires suck blood? The narcissist is a energy vampire. You come around the narcissist. At first, it's beautiful. It's fine and dandy. It's rainbows and butterflies and love. And this is the love bombing stage. They go hard. They do everything in their power to make you fall for them and to make you get used to this beautiful treatment. And you literally think that you have met your soulmate. And they'll tell you, that's one of their favorite phrases is, "You're my soulmate. I've never met anybody like you." They'll tell you all of these things and you will believe it. But then after that love bombing stage, when you go to the devaluation stage, they will drop you like hot cake. They will drop you. And when they drop you, this is when they start to steal your joy. This is when they start to steal anything that brings you happiness. And this is when they drain you. They will drain the life out of you. And people think that when people say the narcissist drains you, they just say it because, the way they act. No, they physically drain you. You feel drained. You feel tired. You feel depressed. You feel like you have lack of energy. It's almost like when you have depression or anemia, you just don't have any energy to do anything. The only energy you have, or the only energy you manage to get, is to deal with the narcissist. That energy comes out of nowhere, and you are busy trying to walk on eggshells. You're trying to make them happy. You're trying to get their approval. You're trying to fix them. You're trying to make things okay, which, by the way,
If you're in that stage right now, spoiler, they never change. It's never going to get better. Things are never going to go back to normal. So, excuse me, at this point, you're just wasting your time. None of that's going to happen. But if you're in that stage, or if you're with someone and you just feel so drained, you feel so depressed, you just feel like you have no energy, you feel like you have no desire to do anything, all your dreams, your goals, and all of the big ambitions and inspirations or aspirations that you had before is just gone, and you can't explain what happened, there's a good chance you're dealing with a narcissist. Because again, they are energy vampires. They suck your energy. They suck every freaking ounce of life in you, every joy, every happiness. They'll steal your joy, steal your happiness, steal your energy, and they'll do that. If it's your job that brings you happiness, they'll ruin that. If it's your family, they'll make you estranged from your family. If it's your friends, they will triangulate between you and your friends. By the time you know it, you're not friends with those people anymore. If it's your children, they'll bring drama. Like anything that brings you joy, happiness, and energy, they'll suck that out of you. Not only that, they don't give up on their victims. They don't. They want to finish you. That's their goal. Their goal is not to start something and walk away. The narcissist never wants to walk away. Their goal is to finish you. And that's why I say they're so demonic, because a normal person, even when you're in a fight with someone and you're winning that fight, some people will walk away and say, okay, I won, so I'm going to walk away. Not the narcissist. Even when they're winning, even when you're at your worst, even when they have drained you and just made you so miserable to the point where you have nothing else to give, they'll keep going. There's no stopping. They'll keep going. The only thing that stops the narcissist is when you decide to take the step to stop it, which means you walk away from them, you break up with them. If it's your family member, you get away from them, you block them. That's the only way. The narcissist is a taker. They'll take, and they don't have a limit. So you have to be the one to put a limit to it. You have to be the one to stop it. But your energy, you're going to be empty. You're going to feel empty. You're going to be empty. Like, they will drain you. So if you're dealing with someone, maybe it's a friend, a family member, or a romantic partner, and you just feel tired and drained and just lifeless when you're dealing with this person, you're dealing with a narcissist. You can follow me for more. Please follow this page. I post a lot of content about narcissism. You can also follow my YouTube page, and you can book a one-on-one coaching call with me. The link is in the bio. It's going to be just me and you, and we can talk about all your narcissistic things, and I can give you my 2 cents on my experience and how to move when you're dealing with these narcissists, coming from someone who has dealt with a very, very malignant narcissist who survived them. All right, follow for more, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Another form of energy siphoning is provocation. So this is when someone is intentionally trying to get a rise out of you. So what they'll do is they'll say things or do things to bait you into getting into an altercation with them, or even simply just getting your attention. Now, let's not get a provoker confused with a bully. A bully is a weak person who bulldozes and picks on people in order to feel strong and to look like they're strong. The way to deal with a bully is you stand up for yourself, and you consistently do this, and they'll eventually go pick on somebody else. A provoker is much more sadistic and evil. And you can't deal with a provoker the same way you deal with a bully, because with a provoker, when you stand up for yourself, they actually like it. They like when they get any type of response or reaction from you, because each time that you give them your attention, they're siphoning your energy. When it comes to a bully, when a bully is bullying someone, their behaviors are obvious. You can obviously see when someone is being a bully. As for a provoker's behaviors are a lot more subtle and covert. A provoker is someone who is a psychological villain. The best example of a provoker is Leland Townsend from the show Evil. If you haven't seen the show Evil, oh my god, go watch it. In the show, Leland Townsend is a forensic psychologist who was a master manipulator. He's a well put together man who comes off very charming. But just like all other manipulators, this is just an act. In this clip, he's speaking to Christine Bouchard, who is also a forensic psychologist.
Oh my goodness. Your testimony went poorly today, didn't it? I think the judge was leaning against LaRue until you testified. What do you think? And the sad thing is, you had so many chances to not get involved. How many times did I tell you to go home to your daughters? Don't get involved in David. But then every step of the way, you did the opposite.
The way that he's speaking to her, on the surface, it seems like he's coming to her as a friend and giving friendly advice. But beneath the surface, he is trying to cut her with his words and trying to provoke a reaction out of her. Now, Christine is a psychologist herself. After dealing with Leland a few times, she picked up on his behavior. In this clip, the way she responded to Leland is the perfect way to respond to provokers.
To win.
God, you talk too much.
Which is to gray rock them and to not allow them to elicit any type of reaction from you whatsoever. And you have to be consistent with it. You can't gray rock a provoker today and then give them a reaction tomorrow. In this next clip, Kristen is just coming home from work. And when she walks into her daughter's bedroom, guess who's there? Leland. Kristen has been consistently gray rocking him and ignoring him. And because of how persistent and relentless people like Leland are, what he did was he got connected to Kristen's mom, started dating Kristen's mom in order to get access to Kristen. What you need to know about people like Leland is they study you. And what he's learned about Kristen is Kristen's biggest trigger is her daughters. Kristen is very, very protective of her daughters. So what does Leland do? He places himself in Kristen's daughter's bedroom in order to provoke her.
Forensic psychologist too.
You're kidding.
No, I just never put it together.
Leland and I have to talk for a minute, Mom, about work. Just this way in the garage.
Well, can't you talk after dinner?
No, we need to talk now. Just through the kitchen.
And in this episode, after a few attempts, he finally gets a reaction out of Kristen. And look at his face when he finally gets that reaction.
I've never been so turned on by you.
Those clips are just a couple examples of some of the things a provoker will do to get your attention in order to siphon your energy. If you're ever dealing with an individual and you clock that you're dealing with a provoker, the best way to combat and protect your energy from a provoker is by not giving them your energy. Do not give them a reaction whatsoever. And don't show that what they're doing or what they're saying is getting to you, because even if you don't give them a reaction, if they can see in your face and if they can sense from your energy that what they're doing and what they're saying is getting to you, even that is feeding them. When it comes to a provoker, you need to be consistent and you need to starve them.
At this stage of my life, I value my peace more than anything, and anyone that compromises that has no place here. When you're in a season of trying to elevate yourself, you have to be so mindful of the energy that you surround yourself with. I don't even speak to my mother. And going no contact with her is probably one of the best decisions that I ever made, because the peace that I feel now, not having to deal with that constant negativity, those who grew up with narcissistic mothers know exactly what I'm talking about. But when I tell you where I'm at right now, nobody is off limits. I do not care who you are. I don't care how old you are. This goes for the elders too. I do not care. I value my peace more than anything. All the friends that would constantly drain me with their problems, they're gone. The people who only want to call you just to gossip, bye. I don't have nothing to say about nobody, nor do I care about anything going on with anybody else. If you're not adding value, goodbye. Goodbye. Because the only thing I care about right now is my peace. That is it. My peace.
So as you can see, anybody can be an energy vampire, whether it's a coworker, family, friends, your romantic partner, a stranger. Like, anybody who is in the energy of something negative. But one common theme that I notice amongst people who tend to be energy vampires are how they have poor spiritual hygiene, because since they don't guard their own energy and they don't replenish their own energy, they tend to leech off of other people who are doing the work to generate their own energies, or at least keep themselves like positively afloat. So they'll leech off of your good energy while not pouring anything back to you, which leaves you feeling depleted and you having to do that work when it should be a mutual exchange of energy flow. Hopefully of positive energy flow. And like previously stated, not all of these people are intentionally draining your energy, but due to their neediness and codependency on your energy, sometimes it can just legit feel like they are suffocating you, like with their presence. And I've had friends like this in the past where it's almost like they want to talk to you every day, every hour, and it don't even be about nothing, but because they can't sit with themselves or they don't have anything productive going on in their lives, they want to leech onto you, and it can be extremely exhausting, especially when it's a person that you care about. It's just like, damn, like you're making me not want to talk to you, but like when I try to set a boundary with you, you get offended by it. And at that point, I had to separate myself from people like that, because listen, you're not about to suck me dry. Like, it's just not happening. Especially when you're not pouring back into me, it's a no. Or another example is like, let's say if you have a person who needs your assistance in something. When a person leans on you so much, almost like they're helpless or they're incapable of supporting themselves, it can feel really overwhelming, especially with how much you're extending yourself to that person. So sometimes them draining you is really unintentional, and sometimes it's not, right? Because sometimes people do play helpless to get more from a person. They'll play damsel in distress. So that's one thing. But as much as we can point the finger at somebody else, I think accountability with self is also really important, because it requires you for you to be self-aware enough to know where you have to set the boundaries that you need to set for your own sake. But if you're a passive person or you're a people pleaser, which I was once in the past, so I'm not speaking from judgment, I'm speaking from experience, you are helping these people drain you. You have to be able to say, hey, I love myself enough, I want to preserve myself enough to say, okay, I can only give you this much, but anything more than that, I'm unable to do. And that's not something that you should fight a person about, right? If you say, hey, this is what I can do, but I can't give more, they got to be okay with that. So for my people pleasers, being not so available will literally be your savior. And I know sometimes like you may feel guilty, like, oh, they might need me, but listen, feel guilty at the idea of you possibly abandoning yourself to help someone else. Now for a final example, let's say you know a person that's dating a toxic person. And this is just a fact. A toxic person is always going to drain you, whether it's mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, or even financially if you allow them to. So before we even get into the example, remember, let's start with accountability first. You choosing to be with a toxic person is you coming into agreement with that. Like, you're choosing it. And because you are not guarding yourself, but you are in fact exposing yourself, that would be considered having poor spiritual hygiene. Now back to the example. So the person that you know is being drained by the toxic person. Then they come to you and they vent and they also seek advice from you. So look at it as like they're pouring toxicity into you because you're taking it in, right? Like you're listening to them, you're giving them your energy. So you're taking that toxicity on. And when you do your part in listening and giving advice, you are then pouring energy into them. So you're pouring care into them, and hopefully you're giving them good advice. Essentially, they are feeding off of your energy while replenishing themselves, which most of us might say like, oh, you know, it's okay because that's your friend, and if you're a good friend, you're going to be there for your friends, right? So I get that. But the problem is when they keep going back to the toxic person who is the one who is siphoning their energy just to get redrained of that very energy that you just poured into them. You following me? So if you think about it, as long as they stay connected to that toxic person, they're going to keep getting siphoned of their energy. Then they keep coming back to you for advice, like a revolving door to the same store. Please understand that your energy is being wasted, and it is a poor investment at that point. And I know to some people this might sound a little harsh, like, oh, you know, like that sounds a little cold. But if you think about it from a logical place, especially if I myself intentionally choose to not engage in toxic relationships because I know that I deserve more than that. Like, I don't deserve stress and chaos. But if being connected to a friend who chooses to be in toxicity and then they come to me and now I feel like I'm a part of that toxicity just by association, I can't. I can't. Depending on the relationship dynamic, you're either gonna have to go, or I'm gonna have to set a boundary with you on like, I don't really want to be a part of your relationship stuff. Like, I already told you what I feel like you should do, but like you're not doing it. So it's kind of just like, you know what, I'm out of advice to give you, because everything that I would tell you is something I've already told you, and now it's up to you to do what you want with that information. But I don't want to keep taking in the information that you're feeding me from the toxic person. You get what I'm saying? And if we happen to maintain a relationship, you don't talk about it, I don't have to experience it, then we're all good. So basically, based on the friend's acceptance of the boundary will determine the relationship dynamic from then on. And even though, yes, you may care about the person, it would be wise of you to cut that energetic force and maybe refer them to like a therapist or someone who can assist them. And again, these boundaries are all coming from a space of self-love and self-preservation. Because one thing about it, once you find peace, you don't want nothing interfering with that peace. Like, seriously, life is already stressful as is. So if you can control the people who you are giving access to in your life, unnecessary stress, drama, just like depression, anxiety is not something that you should willingly be signing up for. And when I do my video on spiritual hygiene, I'm definitely going to dive deeper into how to protect your energy, because it's really so important. And again, accountability, right? It's not just about protecting your energy from other people, but it's also about protecting your energy from yourself. And of course, with the example that I just gave, I understand that there are definitely levels to all of this. I am not saying to not be there for people that you care about, because when you care about somebody, you want to be there for them, right? And again, we all have stresses in our lives that sometimes is not so easy to remove. Sometimes it's just there and you have to learn how to manage it and, you know, like really just minimize it as much as possible. But one thing I will definitely acknowledge is to have a trusted, caring, listening ear. It's not easy to come across. So when you find that, you're going to appreciate it. You should appreciate it. So like I said, I'm not going to tell you to go and cut off every energy vampire in your life, because not everybody is intentional about being an energy vampire. But the ones that you know is just like, you're just miserable, cut them off with no remorse. And the reality is, everyone can have their moment and their season of being an energy vampire. It's really all about self-awareness and knowing not to project it onto people who aren't deserving of you projecting it onto them. But while I am being graceful about everything that I'm saying right now, there are some people in this world that are just bad vibes and they're just miserable. Like, you just cannot help them. Like, and don't even try. Right? And it really comes down to being self-aware and emotionally available with yourself in order to be able to recognize those things in yourself and in other people. Notice how you feel when and after you are interacting with people. If you feel good around them and you feel energized with them, and even after you leave them, that's a person that has good energy and you should want to keep yourself around them. But if it's a person you get around them and you just feel anxious, you feel like guarded, you feel just like irritated, annoyed. If it's a person where you feel like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to be around them, or I don't want to answer their phone or text, or you just feel this uncomfortable feeling in your energetic field or just in your body, that's a red flag, okay? It's a red flag. You might just have an energy vampire on your hand.
Does anyone else have that friend who you love and you think they're a good person and you want to be there for them, but they are so draining to hang out with that, like, I just had to lay for half an hour because I just need a little rest and replenish after that. How do you, if this is someone that you actually do want to keep in your life and keep hanging out with, how do you process that in small doses, I guess? Especially with people who talk a lot about themselves and are very self-focused, like still good people, but just so self-involved that it gets tiring. It's so tiring to me.
So here are some tips that you can do to protect yourself. So for one, you can just cut the person off if you feel like they are just a constant burden on your energy. Like if they're just super draining and there's not really any like positivity that you're getting from being in that relationship, you might just have to cut your losses if there are any losses. And you know, it's okay sometimes, you know, we don't always have to stay in things that are not making you happy. Sometimes you just have to choose yourself if it means preserving your happiness. Like you need to be in a good space in order to really just move in life, you know? Like you can't guilt yourself for holding on to something that does not make you feel like good. you know? But if you can't cut the person off, just create distance and limit your interactions with them and keep it down to what's necessary and nothing more. Also, setting boundaries if necessary for both you and the person. It's okay to say no. You don't always have to say yes. You don't always have to be available to people. You don't always have to be the Superman or Superwoman in people's lives. It's okay to be that for yourself. And saying no can be difficult for empathetic and helpful people. But don't people please and overextend yourself if you know you are not at the capacity to be able to do so. It's okay to not always be the help or being the listening therapeutic ear all the time, especially when you know it's a poor investment on your energy.
Being someone that just naturally heals people is really difficult for me because like I want the best for everyone literally like all the time. And I really want for those people that deserve great things in life to have those great things. But what I can't handle are energy vampires because like why is it that every time I come around you, you want to suck the life out of me in the worst way possible when I literally want the best for you? And being someone on my healing journey, I have realized that I can want the best for people but have to act on the best for me. And if that means not being in contact with someone that's draining my energy, limiting contact with that person, distancing myself, and pouring everything into me, that's simply what I'm going to have to do. Because as a healer, you really can't heal anyone else if you can't heal yourself. And as someone that naturally heals, I also don't necessarily want people to think that I'm like supposed to fix all of their problems because literally no one can fix your problems but you. I mean, I can help, I can be empathetic, I can be understanding, I can be a listening ear, I can be a shoulder to cry on if we have reached that place within the relationship that we have built and established because I actually know you, I can do all of those things. But like I think what people have to remember is that like you truly are in control of your destiny and no one can make your life work for you but you. People can give you all of the tools to be successful, but it is up to you to be successful. It's up to you to maintain that success. And I think that's a really hard realization to come to as someone that has always wanted to help people, that's always been there for people, and that loves people dearly. And with the people that don't deserve to hurt, I'm like, oh my God, I want the world for you. I want the best for you. But like, please don't drain all of my energy because I just started loving myself. Like, girl, are you new here? Because I am. I'm new to this place. I knew nothing about loving myself, caring about myself, having self-worth, being there for me. I knew nothing about that. Now that I'm here, I'm like, oh my God, my energy, I've got to protect it. My peace, I've got to maintain it. What is going on? Why is everybody always trying to take everything from me? It's a lot. And it's hard because it's just like, I'm one of those people where it's just like, dang, can you like love yourself or work on loving yourselves? So that like you can be in my life, because if you don't love yourself as a recovering people pleaser, I can't be around you because that is damaging to my path. Okay, because I've got to be around people that are either loving themselves or working towards loving themselves and pouring their heart and soul into it each and every day. Because what I'm not about to do is go backwards because I'm establishing unhealthy relationships with people. Love you, but I gotta go.
And if you happen to be in any type of dynamic where a person depends on you so much emotionally, it's okay to tell them like, hey, maybe you should go seek a therapist or maybe you should go see a counselor. And basically just lean into the idea of the therapist being better able to assist them, and they might be able to see better perspectives than you can, you know, so that way they don't take like offense to it and they know that it's coming from a place of you really want them to get better. You giving those tips should be a way for them to take like proactive steps to better their situation. That is if the person wants a solution. But if they get like angry or guilt trip you or try to like emotionally make you feel like bad, just cut your losses.
A friend of mine was telling me about how she has this toxic friend of hers that depletes all her energy, that's pretty much like a energy vampire. She knows that she needs to get her out of her life, but she also feels like she's supposed to help her, and maybe she needs her as a friend because she is going through a tough time. And so my friend felt that maybe she's supposed to deplete her energy to help out her friend. And one of the biggest things was taught to me, sometimes when you feel like you are saving or helping a friend, you're actually hindering their journey. So everyone's on their own journey. Sometimes a good person, like my friend, could hinder that journey. Maybe that person is supposed to be an energy vampire, so friends will stop being friends with her, and that's how she's gonna learn, oh, I gotta change. I gotta do something about this. I need to go seek help. I need therapy. I need a healer. And if that friend stayed friends with her, then maybe she's not gonna get that message. And what if it's gonna take a year or even longer for her to get that message? And if my friend just said, I love you, but I love myself more, by her stopping being friends with that person is actually helping that person. Isn't that interesting? We think we need to be friends with someone and save them or help them. And sometimes the best way that we can help them is by not helping them at all.
And for the people who are intentionally trying to get a reaction out of you, do not give them the energy. Like, when you starve them of your reactions, they're going to keep trying, of course, right? Because they're going to try to find, like, okay, if this don't work, let me try this way. But when they keep trying and they notice they're not getting a reaction from you, eventually they're going to stop because they're going to get bored and they're going to go find someone else to do it with. You know, go find somewhere else to be miserable, but don't bring it to me.
When you become familiar with the fact that some people want to provoke you because they don't want just a reaction, they want the energy that comes out of the reaction, you will start to navigate life with a bit more critical thinking and silence, because you have to be selective in what you allow people to get out of you, and that includes your emotional reactions. When you look at the reasons as to why people create rumors, lies, smear campaigns, it's because they want to provoke you enough to respond. That response is what they're looking for, because behind that is your time, attention, and energy. When you start to realize that these people are still interested and attracted to your energy and your vibe, they will do what they can to get it. And if they can't get it in a positive way, some of them will resort to those negative means, because they're one of the most powerful ways in which we will get out of character and get a response. Remember that your silence is powerful, and the way in which you should be utilizing that is becoming extremely selective with who gets your time and attention, especially during periods of emotional turmoil.
But anyways, y'all, I'm gonna end this video here. Control yourself, and that way people cannot control you. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And like I said, my next video, stay tuned for that, because we have a lot more content coming up, and yeah, I'm happy to share it with y'all. So I'll see y'all in the next one.
Watch some people who hurt you, whether it's intentional, unintentional, however you register it. Watch to see if they go to look at how you react. Because the enemy, I'm trying to tell you, if you really pay attention, people will reveal themselves. People will say things, subconscious things, that's out to hurt you. And be looking to see your reaction. How this bitch gonna take this? You better watch these people.